Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bulldog Alley podcast. It is June 29th. I am your co-host, Cole Forsman, joined as always by Asher Ali.
What's up? What's up?
How you doing today, Asher?
Oh man, I'm living. Just coming off a nice Hoop Fest weekend here in Spokane, my first ever. It was really cool just to see that Spokane really is a city for basketball. Come from Los Angeles. I always thought that like LA was kind of one of the meccas, and it is for sure. But Spokane is definitely on its way, and obviously you saw that this year with the NBA draft, with which we'll get into. But like three guys taken out of Washington, like this state just kind of exudes basketball, just love and excellence. So it was really cool to be there for that. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, ditto. Honestly, I've stumbled around Hoop Fest for a little bit, watched a few games. Just a great environment. It was my first one, obviously the last two being canceled. And yeah, I now know why it is Hooptown, USA. So, and yeah, Washington, we love our basketball. Bring back our songs. Anyway, we can get right into the NBA draft. Of course, that was the news around the basketball world this last week. And for the Zags, we had, of course, Chet Holmgren being selected number 2 overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Andrew Nembhard being at the top of the second round, selected by the Indiana Pacers. Right off the rip, a fun night to just watch, be here, Spokane. And yeah, we can just kind of get right into how we think these guys are going to fit. First, we'll just start with Chet. It's a big name one. Right off the top of your head, how do you kind of see him fitting in with this young OKC roster that clearly is a ways away from really competing, but certainly has the foundation both on the court and draft asset capital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Chet to the Thunder. It's a selection that it's going to work because at the very least, even if it all kind of falls apart, the Thunder are going to make it work. This is the guy that they wanted for sure, and you can tell that because they weren't deterred from picking Chet, even when the morning of draft day comes around and the script is kind of flipped on everybody, and all of a sudden, oh my God, Paulo Banchero is going number 1. Everybody, the world thought Jabari Smith Jr. was going number 1, but the Thunder stayed true to like what the reports had said, that they really wanted Chet and they locked down on him. They didn't switch him and take Jabari, so that they have a plan for him in their system. They have a path, they have a timeline for him. It fits in amazingly well with that young roster. He'll get to develop along some of the great young talents in the NBA like Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know you and I were talking earlier about whether Lou Dort will be back, but if he is, guys like Lou Dort. And then there's 3 other draft picks that he gets to develop alongside of. It's really fun team. Could be going forward. It's one of those teams that you think about like NBA League Pass wise, like you want them on League Pass next year because they will be an exciting franchise to watch. But no, Chet is definitely he's a dual weapon that will give them obviously the offensive output that they've come to expect from their offensive weapons so far. He'll add to that, but then he'll also kind of introduce a defensive element that I think the Thunder were missing last year as one of the worst defensive teams in the entire country. Chet will bring that, and he'll be a shot blocker at the power forward position. They can even slide him over to the 3, and he'll be elite. It was so duly noted that forwards and wings were a need for the Thunder this draft. All 4 of their players can kind of play, and anywhere from the Jalen Williams from Santa Clara can play the 2, he can play the 3. Jalen Williams from Arkansas can play the 3, can play the 4. And Dan can play the 3 to play the 4. Chet can play anywhere from 3 to 5, depending on how he kind of develops. So this is a team that needed wings. They needed guys in their front court, and they got that. And Chet is the penultimate, or if not the ultimate, guy you wanted from this draft for that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We talk about Thunder had 3 first-round picks. And you always hear just take swings at guys who have high ceilings with all those picks. Take shots on guys who you think could one day change the league. And I think the Thunder really did that with Chet at 2. We already know ad nauseum how he has the highest ceiling of anybody in the draft in terms of his defensive impact is going to carry over almost right away with the shot blocking. skill set, his ability to just be vertical. He has that basketball strength that you kind of talk about, where he doesn't look physically big, but his body's certainly conditioned for the game. He's strong, mentally, physically, just doesn't get deterred a lot. And I mean, Ousmane Dieng, someone who rose up the boards as like a raw prospect who can sort of do it all. Not a lot of tape on him, of course, from overseas. And then Jalen Williams, one of the higher risers, of course, in the draft as well, the one from Santa Clara. So I think they're 3 first-round picks. They were like, let's just swing for the fences with these picks. And I like it. The guys who just fit in a bunch of different spots, they're going to obviously have to put these guys together in a coherent lineup at some point. But I think that staff is really committed to developing all 4 of their picks, even Jalen Williams at the top of the second round. So I think Chet, like we just said, defensive impact is going to be there, and the Thunder are in no rush to compete. He can, build his frame up more, develop a real ball handling repertoire, I guess you can call it, because we know he can handle the ball great for a 7-footer. And if he can really tighten that handle, who knows what the ceiling is for him. So yeah, I really like this draft for the Thunder. I think they got great guys to go along with Chet. Moving on, I should say, Andrew Nembhard, top of the second round to the Indiana Pacers. A lot of people thought maybe he could sneak in late first round to a team that, is in a win now mode. Maybe like the Warriors or, the Grizzlies, who just want to add depth at that position, but it ended up being the Pacers top of the second round. They also got Benedict Mathurin with the number 6 overall pick in the first round. So, and then Kendall Brown after Nembhard at pick 48. So really well-rounded draft for them. How do you kind of see Andrew fitting into this Pacers team that probably is going for a rebuild? They've kind of hinted at a soft rebuild lately, but given their moves and their current roster right now, what do you kind of see for Andy?
Yeah, Nembhard, I still think his future is definitely up in the air. I think every kind of second round guy's future is up in the air, and it really is a fit oriented kind of feel and for how any second round talent is going to develop out of the draft. I do think he's in one of the better situations. A lot of it does depend on how the Pacers approach this offseason. When they have guys like Miles Turner, who, they're still maybe looking to flip, and it flips every day, whether or not they're trying to flip him or keep him. You can't keep track of it. And it depends on what pieces they're trying to get in return for him. I don't think, reason why I think Nembhard is in a particularly good situation there is because as a rebuilding franchise, they do already still have a developed starting point guard in Tyrese Halliburton. So they're not going to try to look to replace Halliburton with somebody better. I don't think Halliburton is like the premier developing guard in the National Basketball Association right now. You're not going to find many better, young guards than Tyrese. So you could have Nembhard maybe slot in behind him in the rotation. That's the optimal position for him to sit in for this going into the season. But we still have guys like TJ McConnell there. It's definitely going to be something where they have to maybe fight for it a little bit. So he may not, he may be coming off towards the end of rotation or, the end of the bench to start this year off. But I think Summer League is going to show a lot about his development too, show what he has in his tank. And if he can just showcase the same things he showcased in Gonzaga all last season or at the NBA Combine, which, at this point, I'm convinced, that is just his game. I have no worries that he's going to produce just like that in the Summer League. You could definitely see him being like an 8-9 guy in the rotation for the Pacers next year. And you never know what that can lead to for him. He's going to be that cerebral guard for the Pacers, which I think is a team that needs that intelligence, because when Tyrese is not on the floor, they're still going to need a floor general. And that is like 110% what Andrew Nembhard is. But yeah, when you have, it's a guard heavy team, but definitely more in kind of the guard wing position. Like, you have your Buddy Hields, you have your Ben McMathurins now, you have your Kendall Browns. These are guys who are going to fit in really well. Chris Duarte, that's a tongue twister. Yeah, like those guys can definitely stretch more than 2 to 3, but you still need that true point, I think, and Nemhard is going to be that when Halliburton isn't there. Um, I think they maybe, maybe Halliburton is a really good fit as far as a young mentor for Nemhard too, because they both have similar pros and cons to their game. We'll just have to see how it matches up for Nemhard, but sometimes he can be a uh, really encouraging shooter and go out there and shoot the rock a lot. And sometimes he'll really sit back and let his teammates take control, scoring wise. And Halliburton, it kind of falls in the same pitfall sometimes. So we'll see how the two of them maybe are able to work off each other and build with one another. But I think Nemhard's in a good spot.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about, I mean, one of if Andrew's greatest strengths here, while he sort of lacked that size and athleticism, he was just so smart and he can make pretty much any pass that you could ask a point guard to make at the college level, that is. So I think if for smart players to be surrounded by even more talented players, I think Andrew, given the volume, like you alluded to with his combine performance in the scrimmages, I think that's about what we could see from him, in spurts here and there, in summer league. And if his NBA, career pans out, the way we want it to, then he could certainly do that, at a higher clip. So, yeah, I think you mentioned the Tyrese Halliburton. They are very guard heavy, and I mean, we didn't even mention Malcolm Brogdon too, right? Who
Malcolm Brogdon, yeah,
is in a lot of trade rumors.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't see the floor a whole lot because he's had a lot of injury history over these past few seasons. But I think that's a guy who, if he's to stay in Indiana, which it could go either way at this point. We just saw DeJounte Murray get traded, but
Hawks.
as for Brogdon, him and Nemhard, very similar builds, very similar play styles. Not the most athletic, but just guys who are rock solid floor generals. You think of like a quarterback in the NFL, just field general. They're just going to do what needs to be done, but they're going to do it efficiently and at a high, you can trust them with the ball. So I think that would be someone for Andrew to really look up to if he's to stick around in Indiana. Tyrese, him and Andrew for the future, that's a fun backcourt possibly. And they have Duarte and Hield, who knows? Again, TJ McConnell, who somebody, if they bring back, is another guy that I think Andrew could look up to. We know Andrew's very skilled defensively. For him to pick McConnell's brain and how he's able to rack up steals and read passing lanes, that would be really, great for his development. But I think for a team like Indiana, who, is in a rebuild, it looks like they're going to head in that direction, probably ship out some veterans by the midseason. We could probably see Andrew get a lot more minutes, even as we head into March. And, that's that area where a lot of rebuilding teams like to just get their young guys a lot of reps. And so I think Andrew could get a good mix of sitting on the bench in the regular season and just observing, watching, learning from afar, and then applying that maybe towards the midseason and down the line. So I think he's in a great fit. Indiana's been a really well-run organization over the last few years. Seems like Rick Carl really likes him. After they drafted him, he said how Andrew reminds him a lot of different aspects of JJ Barea and Jason Kidd, Jason Terry, kind of elements of all their games. Of course, Rick Carlisle coming over from the Mavs, these are all of his point guards he's had over the years. So, I think Rick Carlisle could really coach up Andy well. So
he's definitely in the right coaching scheme, I think, to develop solidly. Just one more thing is, like, you bring up Brogdon. It's funny, like, no, I think this draft class is stacked enough where it'll be really hard to see like a guy like Nemhard becoming rookie of the year at the end of next season. But you could see him maybe being in potentially the same situation as Brogdon was with the Bucks when he won rookie of the year, where it's like he's coming in as a sixth man. You never know how it's going to unfold. And he could just be that really cerebral guard that just, is really able to slow the game down and direct the floor and maybe at least get recognition at the end of the year as one of the top as one of the top rookie players, and he could maybe make an all rookie team. You never know. That would be really fun to watch. But this is a really stacked draft class with not just those two guys from Gonzaga, but with some other WCC players as well.
Yeah. So we can kind of get into those. Of course, we mentioned Jalen Williams, the other WCC player out of Santa Clara. Just an offensive weapon who can also share the rock. And those were the only WCC players drafted, but there's plenty more that signed to NBA rosters and will be on the summer league teams at the very least. The summer league going on from mid-July. I think it's in Las Vegas. I believe it's the 16th to the 19th, somewhere around there. Just a couple of WCC names to keep an eye on these certain teams. Out of St. Mary's, we had Tommy Kuzi signed with the Orlando Magic. So he'll be with Jalen Suggs, who was not listed on the Magic Summer League roster. I kind of found that interesting, but we'll see how that goes. There's still a while before rosters need to be finalized. Malik Fitz as well from St. Mary's. He graduated not this year, but the previous year, if I'm correct on that one. And then out of Gonzaga, we had Philip Petruccio, who was, of course, second-round pick by the 76ers last year. He played back home overseas in 2021, 2022, but he'll come over for the Summer League this year. Jamari Bouye out of San Francisco. He signed with Miami Heat. Frankie Ferrari, who graduated from USF, I believe, a couple of years ago now.
I think 3 years ago, Frank.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 years ago.
He'll be on the Sacramento Kings. He played for the Santa Cruz Warriors G League team in 2022. He was undrafted in 2019. Sorry. Out of BYU, we had Yoeli Childs. He's going to be playing for the Jazz. And Alex Barcello got a deal with the Toronto Raptors. And then finally, Colby Ross, who all Zags fans know is just this big bucket getter who loves to torch us. He will be playing for the Portland Trailblazers. He was overseas last year playing for, I'm not going to try to, it's a Czech Republic team, and he was quite efficient over there as well as a scorer. So it's good to see these guys who, whether they just graduated or graduated a year or two ago, get another shot at the NBA. And that's what the Summer League is all about. So I think it'll be really fun to watch all those guys play for teams that, have a lot of young, promising talent on the roster.
Yeah, no, big ups to all these guys for getting at least a Summer League roster and, getting the platform to prove themselves worthy of any kind of professional contract. This even goes far beyond just like an NBA or a G League contract. Because you guys play well here, that definitely increases their stock in overseas as a lot as well. Especially like a guy like Colby Ross coming off an efficient year overseas, adding to that with proving himself competent against potential NBA competition could give him a bigger contract down the line, which we're always trying to let WCC get their money. In particular, though, I am definitely interested in Bouye going to the Heat. I'm sure you are too, with your D-Wade jersey you're sitting back there. But no, he's the Heat have really it's cool. Like we were looking, both of us, I know we're looking at the Rookie Wire article that has the teams, the players listed for each team that's already confirmed to have signed a Summer League contract or playing with the team. And the Heat's roster is pretty filled out. But it does look like Bouye will get consistent minutes, at least as a backup point guard on that team. It's a pretty forward and center heavy team. So I'm hoping that he really gets to prove himself as, even as an undersized guard, which is one of the biggest criticisms against him, is that he is still a guy who doesn't matter the level he's playing at. He will draw a bunch of defenders because he is an offensive threat like no other, and then be able to distribute, either, score the ball or distribute it out to somebody else. To make them score, because that is exactly something that is actually a play style that can translate so well to particularly the Miami Heat's NBA roster. You have guys like, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, who, they could handle the ball on their own, but having somebody else there, even Jamari Bouye in a couple of years who could then, take it up himself and then dish it out would be so fun to watch. And that would just, I think he also kind of really embodies the Heat culture. I just feel like just because he was a grinder at USF and played 4 years there and was just, or 5 years there, and was just a dog every single year and just learned and grew. I feel like he's a guy that the Heat organization can really get behind. And then, if it's not the Heat organization, I hope another NBA team finds him worthy of signing to at least a 2-way contract, because I think he is deserving of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know everybody in the NBA circle likes to make fun of Heat culture, oh, Pat Riley, body fat percent tests, all that. One of the most hardest working, toughest teams in the league. I think that's some Pat Riley mantra. But yeah, I mean, just like a lot of these other guys that made their way on the summer league rosters, just playing hard will earn you minutes. And for someone like Bouye in his situation with the Heat, yeah, I mean, their point guard depth is outside of Kyle Lowry, who is I think over 30 years old by this point. Who knows what his future is with the team. I think he could definitely make an impact if he's to make it past this summer league roster, at least on a 2-way contract. And yeah, like you said, a lot of these guys, they might not even end up in the regular season on the teams that they signed the summer league contract with. We can see these guys sign 2-way deals with the Warriors. Bouye might end up there. I'm just hypothesizing, but yeah. Another couple other notable summer league players. Fenbo Zhang, he signed with the Indiana Pacers summer league roster. Of course, former Gonzaga commit. And then I just found these two kind of cool. Buddy and Jimmy Boeheim, of course, son of the legendary Syracuse coach. They're both on the Pistons. And then the Lakers just like to build, apparently, the most popular team. They got Scottie Pippen Jr., Sharif O'Neal. I think they have Mac McClung too, and Max Christie, who was a former, I think, 5-star recruit out of high school. So Lakers just like to build, those kinds of squads. But it'll be interesting to see. Again, the summer league is all about just another crack at making a professional career, and I think a lot of these guys have the heart and the skill set to do it. So we'll just have to keep an eye on them, and it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%. And as a Lakers fan, I'm definitely excited to see Scottie Pippen Jr. and Sharif go out there and show their stuff. Also, as somebody who in high school I got to watch Sharif play at Crossroads, he beat the brakes off of my high school team. So I'm going to be happy to see him suit up in the gold and in the purple and gold and do his thing. But yeah, man, summer league is really fun. I'm hoping at some point in my life I can make it out there and watch a couple games. But for the moment, I didn't really watch much last year, but this year is definitely a year that intrigues me for some personal reasons, and I think it's just a talented pool of players. Guys like Max Christie falling to the Lakers there in the second round is pretty, just kind of shows you the pool of talent. But yeah, man, I'm excited for sure, and it's just around the corner.
Yep, we'll keep an eye on that. Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren weren't listed on these rosters, but I'm sure once they sign or at least Chet Holmgren, once he signs his rookie deal, he'll probably pop up on a list somewhere. So, but yeah, I think that's all we really had to go over today, Asher. We're heading into the thick of summer. So
yeah, and NBA free agency right around the corner. We got that coming up in tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I believe is when moratorium starts, so teams can start reaching out, making those sneaky phone calls at midnight to players, and
just don't pull the Chicago Bulls. Just don't. I like seeing as many draft picks as possible. And the Bulls screwed the entire country out of seeing one more draft pick than they got to, because they decided to announce they signed Lonzo Ball like the second it dropped. It's like, all right, relax a little bit, please.
Miami Heat, we're looking at you too. You took another pick away, so we only have 58 this year. And let's have more DeAndre Jordan situations. Those are fun.
Yeah, we like those. We like those a lot. Those are interesting. Cool.
All right, Asher.
Yes,
I will let you get going as well as the rest of our viewers. Guys, Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Bulldog Alley podcast. I'm your co-host, Cole Forsman, Asher Ali, of course. Have a good one, Asher.
Thank you, sir. You too. Catch you later, Cole.